Hello, welcome to the 6X. My name is John. With me is Jason. Oh, up there, and Blank over on my right, I suppose, as you see it on the screen. We're going to be jumping into PUBG Mobile. What's going on this week? We're going to kick it off with this week in PUBG Mobile. What are we thinking about the announcements that have happened recently, guys?
Just all of them. Let's just go
All
with
of them.
all
Let's
the
just start.
announcements.
I mean, we'll start
Uh,
with the version 1 announcement, 1.0.
Version 1.0 announcement. Big, huge news. I waited 30 minutes in that live stream with the single image on the screen just to see all that come through. Which if it was actually pretty good. There was some cool stuff about the esports in there. I think what most piqued my attention was the graphical changes though, because I get to see that in game. Hell yeah.
Well, you also have the user experience, the whole UI that can be like customized. But I think in our eyes, most of us were focused on the esports announcement, right?
Oh yeah,
PMGC,
the
you got
esports.
20 teams from around the world who qualify through PMPL, and then of course $2 million on the line. And Bigatron, I'm pretty sure they're already rich, but I don't. What are they gonna do with their millions they're gonna win here at the next event?
I don't know,
Yeah,
man.
but China teams, bro.
That is true. I think that's
Yeah.
kind
I mean,
of.
they were there last time.
No, not
Yeah,
really.
top esports.
Oh, but
Yeah,
it
but they
wasn't
didn't. It
the
wasn't
same
X.
top esports.
Yeah,
Like,
But tops won in spring.
yeah,
Like,
but it was a different roster.
that's
And
true.
they fielded a different roster. I think that is kind of like the main thing that everyone's really quite excited for, and you see it quite a lot on social media where people are like, we want the Chinese teams to come and play and compete again, because it was amazing to see it in Berlin. Back last year, like they dominated the entire lobby, XQuest F
Oh,
and
oh, oh,
top
yeah.
esports as well. Like they just ran wild.
Yeah, they did, and also that was back when that was like when XUF were dominating purely off kill points alone.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
new points difference that comes through, 15 points for a chicken dinner, and there's more heavy weighting on those kill points now. I'm thinking Chinese teams might do a little bit better on that terms. Also, considering top esports, we're probably going to see more XUF as well as 4AM. Those are the guys that are doing really, really well recently. So I'm looking forward to seeing them in action. I think I've watched them
Yeah.
at a tournament before. I can't quite remember what it was, but they were absolutely slapping.
I think it's
Uh,
Nova as well who managed to get a really successful roster, who are doing really well in the Chinese scene at the moment. Like
yeah,
they're
yeah.
they're popping off, and obviously they have Paraboy, who's like, uh, it's kind of like scary how good this guy is, right? Like I think he got like 7 MVPs across a tournament that he just played in, so it's
I want to
absolutely nuts.
know. I want to know if he's changed his finger setup yet, because I know that he was one of the players that played thumbs for
He
so
was a
long.
thumber.
Yeah,
I'll
so
have to.
I wonder if he's changed it. I think most people are switching over to 4 and 5 finger claw now. So, if anyone knows, let me know. Let me know in the chat,
I think
because I
in
don't read
chat.
Chinese, so I'm sorry.
I mean, no one's in the chat link.
Let me know in the
YouTube,
chat
YouTube comments chat.
or
Thing
tweet at
is,
I'll,
him.
you guys named like 4 or 5 different Chinese teams. There's only 20 teams total. We had 40 playing in the World League across East and West. How do the 20 teams get there? How many come from China? How many come from all these different regions? Is PMPL even going to be more difficult now? I realize, and you basically have to place like what, first, maybe second, to have a chance to play in PMGC, where there's double the prize or over double the prize pool on the line. Like this is tough times for a lot of teams out there, and the teams who maybe already instantly qualified into PMPL from playing in World League. I mean, they shouldn't really be taking too much time off, because $2 million is a lot of moolah.
huge
Yeah,
moolah. I think it's super valid point as well, Jess. I mean, like. We named a lot of teams there. Not many teams could actually go,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I think it's a little bit crazy because now that you mention it, it's like a case of PMPL is no longer safe zone of like if you place in that top four bracket, then you're in, or
Mhm.
the top six. Like it's more than
Well,
likely we're going to have it like you need to get that first
it's
place
fair
to go
enough. You
to
want the exceptional
PMGC.
teams there, right? Like you want the teams that
but that's the thing, is
stand
you're gonna
out.
get arguments that you get in like Counter Strike, where you have the same amount of slots for like North America as you do Europe, and then like South America has slots, like Asia has slots. But everyone always argues, well, why would you bring in like 8 NA teams and only 8 EU teams, when even the teams in EU who are like top 20 EU would beat most of the North American teams? So I guarantee there's going to be arguments about like how many
Oh yeah.
slots China gets, because those teams could probably beat 90% of the teams out there that would be playing the entire event. So how do you choose which of those teams
Yeah,
end
but
up
Jason,
going
they're not going to
through? You
beat
can't.
them. They're not going to
What?
beat them because
What?
they're not going to qualify, so they can't beat them if they're not in the tournament. I
No, I'm
kind
saying
of
they
never.
could beat them. So it's like there's a way you could argue that like China should get maybe like 5 slots in PMGC, whereas like America's maybe like 2 slots, and then and maybe even that's too much when you compare like what Southeast Asia has to bring when it comes to PUBG Mobile. Like, yeah, it's difficult. Like, how many teams from India are going to get to go? Like from South Asia, it's going to be really interesting
Yeah.
to see like when that develops, how many slots would be allocated per region, because that's really going to determine like
I think
a
the
lot of frustrations. I'd say from
Yeah,
different regions
It's
against each
impossible, right, to decide
other.
almost.
We can't please everyone, right?
we can't. I think the PUBG Mobile team did a really good job with World League. To be honest, I think there was still some disagreements there with how many slots were available to certain regions. But like Jason says, it was like there's 40 teams that went to World League. It was a lot easier to hand out the spots. 20 spots this time. Like now you're really frugal with who you give them to.
I
It's a
mean,
bit
you
scary.
have less than half the slots technically, because now China's included.
Oh
right?
yeah,
So
yeah, exactly.
originally it was 20 slots
Jeez.
for East, 20 for West, but now there's even less than half. So you're competing against people from East and China now. So who knows? Like honestly, I think that's probably one of the biggest talking points that we could have in our like this week in PUBG Mobile, because every team out there wants to play
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
this, and not every team. Most teams won't even have a chance to make it in.
I'm just hoping that it's a LAN. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, LAN would be really nice. I don't know. I'd like it. I'd like to know if they're making like a unique studio for the place. I mean, to be fair, I think PUBG Mobile this year been the kind of trailblazers in terms of making sure that COVID esports is still really cool. So I've been happy with it. I've been happy with it. But
There's like a lot of unanswered questions, right, about that,
Yeah.
because they said like studios around the world. So does that mean like the South Asian teams will go to India and play from India, and then
it's
like
odd.
the teams from China will play in a certain location in China, and like will they bring teams into their own regions in a certain area to play together in
Yeah.
PMGC, or will they fly everyone in across the world to one spot?
I
Because
feel
right now
like-
in the US, I mean, I know. So, for instance, Stunna over in Counter Strike, one of the hosts, he flew to Germany. They got him a visa for work specifically so he could come. Otherwise, he'd be banned from coming to Germany because he's from the U.S. So, if
Jeez.
you're from Brazil, if you're from America, like, is there a way PUBG Mobile can get them special visas to come to potentially Poland if that's the location of the PMGC to play?
I think
yeah,
there's-
but
I think sorry, I'm just going to make a quick point.
it's all right. Go
about,
for it. Go for
like
it.
it feels to me like they're very much open to the current situation at the time. I mean, you saw like the wording that they put forward. It seems to me very much a case of like it could be that we're doing this, but we want to have the option open to, you know, bring everyone together. And I think that's obviously everyone's ideal solution, is to be able to have a LAN, right? Like that's the top tier solution. But then you have those other solutions depending on the state of the world, because it's such a state of
fluid-
uncertainty, right?
Yeah.
We
I
won't
mean-
know. I mean, we won't know until probably towards mid-November, I reckon. Actually, end of October, we won't know who's got the slots for PMGC. So by the time they find out who's got the slots or who wins, then you've got to organize visas, and visas aren't something that's like done like that, is it? So
No.
I'm not sure.
I mean, if we look at PMWL compared to PMGC, PMWL had its date shifted multiple times. Like it was supposed to happen
Yeah.
way earlier in the year, right? Like we were like ready to go, and all of a sudden we get told, okay, well it's not happening at the moment. But it seems like, I mean, as I said in the video, you heard them say like end of November. So at least in their eyes, like the event's gonna happen no matter what, end of November. So they actually have like a solid time frame and a lot of time to work with to get everything prepared for that if they were to do a LAN.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited.
I mean, they could probably
regardless.
set up like quarantine areas, you know, fly them in over 2 weeks early. Obviously, it costs a
Easy.
lot of extra money. And then they have a studio that they can play from, you know, assuming, again, it's in Poland. We obviously don't know.
Yeah.
It'd be really sick. It would be really, really sick. So, not
But-
chat in comment section. Fingers crossed, guys.
Yeah.
But we should also talk about how what they said in the video is this is PMGC Season 0. So this is not really how it's fully going to go when it goes into next year. So in our heads, I think we discussed this. It's going to be like PUBG Mobile World League Season 1, or like in the first half of the year, PUBG Mobile World League Season 2, and the second half of the year, and then it concludes with the PMGC Season 1, right? That's what we kind of like decided or
well
understood.
decided. Yeah, I think that's sort of the interpretation of the structure of the year that we have, but like
Mhm.
that's based on our own interpretations. I mean, obviously that's not official
Yeah.
from anyone. But
Yeah, I mean I think that would make the most sense, but I still think this is really cool from PUBG Mobile, considering like we didn't even know if we'd have World League or even the championship at the end of the year. I mean, it's ace that we're getting it now, and I think it's very much like PUBG Mobile going, look, this is what we can do. Stick around because next year is going to be even better, which is how it's been since like 2018, I want to say, is that literally every single year that's gone by, it has just been a better structure every single year. Or 2019, sorry. So 2021 is going to be really, really good. I'm excited, very excited.
yeah,
I think a lot of credit goes out to them actually to be so fluid in their like decisions for esports, right? Because even teams were told. I remember having Monica from Tempo Storm message me while I was doing West League saying, "So what's going on with the finals? Like the finals after West and East?" Because they were told originally that there's going to be an event after that to determine like the global, not yeah, like the global championship, right? The world championship between the two regions.
Yeah.
You take the X amount of teams from each region and they play together. So obviously that didn't happen because there was no LAN and ping disparity would be way too big. But this is like their kind of solution to that, right? Was just hold another mega event this time with even more money and with more teams from around the world. So again, credit to them to be able to change things up so quickly because there's a lot of money like that goes into this, right? It's not something you just decide, oh hey, we're gonna do this tournament. No, it's like millions of dollars you need to pay, or at least hundreds of thousands of dollars you have to pay for tournament organizers. $100,000 you have to pay for PMCO, for PMPL that leads up into this. Like, it's not an easy or cheap thing to do.
yeah. Speaking of like PMCO, recently kicking off and stuff, and some PMPLs going on. I think South Asia's ahead of the curve on that one. They are getting in early. So I mean, it's like there's been very little downtime for them as well. So the planning is even more exceptional in my mind.
Well, the observers. So funny enough, during World League, I got to chat with the observers a lot. It's like a big group of Romanian guys. And I was talking to like the guy who's like basically the head of all the observers. He said he flies home like the day after the event was done, so like on August 10th, and then the next day he had PMCO. So he was home for like 10, 12 hours before we had to start work again. And then this is like another long stretch of weeks. He had to hire more people because they need to run 2 different teams of observers to cover up everything happening in PMCO. So they've had definitely no time off, especially some teams out there. I mean, I'm assuming a lot of the PMWL teams have gone back maybe a week or 2 off and then hit straight into practicing again.
Yeah, I mean,
100%. It's wild. It is wild. I think me and John, and probably you as well, and I think I actually know you, Jason, that we kind of want to cast some more, we want to do some more tournaments. So I've been kind of sitting on my butt playing some MMOs, trying to just put time in the sink at the moment. That's what I'm trying to do. But I'm excited for when we get back
Sailing
on the grind.
on some ships.
oh yeah, dude.
Yeah, of course.
Been on that
all
Sea of
sorts.
Thieves grind, man. Got to do it.
Oh, see, he didn't say the name of the game, and then you just went and said the name of the other
Yes,
game.
I said it.
We have to just edit you out of the whole podcast.
That's all right.
Just all of it.
I mean, Jason said Counter-Strike earlier. Like, we'll be all right. We'll be all right.
Yeah, we'll be
So I think like after the culmination of West and East League, it will be interesting to see like, especially. So I think especially in the West League, Jason, like we saw an emerging dominance from like the South American teams that we haven't quite sort of seen before, right? Like they had a massive shout into this time around.
Yeah, so okay, well we have to start off by saying that originally this was going to be an episode based off like the results of the finals, right?
Yeah.
But we had to delay the show a couple of weeks, so we're not going to really sit too much talking about it because it's obviously so far in the past, but we obviously have to talk a little bit about it. And as you've been mentioning with West League, it was honestly, it was insane. I think West and East both had like some of the best matches we've seen across any other tournament that's happened in the past for PUBG Mobile. At the end of West League, into the final match, I think we had like 5 teams. We had Footballers, Loops, Kanina Power, Cloud9, and Wildcard, who could all technically take first place and take home the $100,000. So there was 5 different teams to watch, whereas you look at the finals from last year in Malaysia, Bigatron had like 100+ point lead. And we knew going into that final game, even pretty much the one before it, that Bigatron was going to win. So it was super exciting.
They were literally driving out into the blue, I remember, to get kills.
Like, yeah, I mean, that's the state, right? And why wouldn't they do something like that?
Yeah.
But kind of the story for me for West League was all about Cloud9. If you guys remember, they didn't qualify through into the third super weekend. They got very heavily targeted going into the second day of league play. And everyone kind of wondered, and we even talked to Beowulf on the first episode of this podcast about, like, what are they going to do now? How do they focus up? And there were so many questions about what kind of performance they would show up. And guess what? First game they go into in the finals, they get the chicken dinner. And they get 10 kills on top of that. So they pretty much came into the finals flying. And all of our heads were like, okay, Cloud9, they're here to play. They're here to show up. But then we had teams like Konina Power and Wildcard. These two teams only really had success when it came to the opening weekend, right? Into our like seeding matches that we had. Konina Power day 1, crap the bed. I'm going to keep it very PG here. Day 2 showed up. But since that point, across the 3 weeks of league play and super weekends, they were really non-existent. But going into the finals, they were one of the most consistent teams out there. I remember it was, let me check. It was like day 2 or day 3. I think it was like day 3. They had like a first place finish, a second place finish, a third place finish, and 2 fourth place finishes. And then they had a 14th place. That's out of 6 matches. So in 5 of the 6 matches, they placed top 4. Yeah. It was insane. And everyone was kind of like, where's this team been, right? And that's what we've talked about a lot in the West League is, you know, what time do you peak in a tournament? Like, what time do you play your best? And clearly, Konina Power saved it towards the end. And then you had a team like Loops, who was so dominant in kills. They were so dominant in placings. They didn't get a chicken dinner until, I believe, their second super weekend. They come into this, they get a chicken dinner on their second match, and that was actually beating Cloud9 on Vikendi, and they got themselves 11 kills. But from that point on, it seemed to not really be the same team that we expected. And this was what was so weird to see teams switch from like Loops, who was one of the few teams them in football is to have more kills than placement points at a good portion, like at a good time into the super weekends. And then they just started to crap the bed. They really like disappeared out of the game for some reason. Like they were, I guess, focusing more on placings, I think in general. And I'm wondering if you guys saw this in East League as well, that teams stopped playing so aggressive and started playing more for placement points. Is that something you guys saw as well?
I think there was a few teams that I honestly think it bit some teams in the arse, honestly, because towards the end it was like, oh, we've got some points we want to stay towards the top 10. Let's just like play it slow. Let's not do what we were doing before. I think TSM Entity was somewhat of a sufferer of that, where honestly in the league play, after they got back on their feet, because I think they'd moved boot camps, then moved back again once the internet was fixed. They were flying. They were doing so incredibly well. And then the finals, they kind of just dropped off a little bit because they felt like they were more prioritizing placement, like so. But there's definitely a few teams that were like that on the board in East League. But again, we had a similar thing where we had.
Don't fully go into it yet. Sorry.
No.
I'm close to wrap it up. Okay.
Don't worry.
Right. I don't want to switch to East yet.
Don't worry.
Just a teaser.
Don't worry, just a teaser. Yeah, there was the 3 teams at the top, which were very, very close, just like in the West League.
Yeah, and actually on that note, I think we saw in the finals for maybe both regions, definitely for West, there were teams who were playing for first, and there were teams that were playing for placements. There was teams playing. Okay, there was teams playing to win and teams playing to not lose. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah, that's a great way of putting it.
And I think teams like Footballists, Konina Power, maybe even Loops a little bit in there, were definitely like playing to win. But the thing is, the real kicker for me is going into that final match, as I was saying before, you have 5 teams who could all technically win the whole thing. And one by one, Wildcard, Cloud9, Konina Power drop out. And you're left with Footballists and Loops, the number 1 and the number 2 team left alive. You had Ulysses from UDR Killers. I remember him specifically for a good reason. You had Pittsburgh Knights in there, and I think you had maybe like one more team. Maybe it was Queso, and like Loops took Queso out as they were transitioning. Yeah. But Footballists get knocked out. And you have Loops, you have UDR, you have PK, you have Queso, maybe Queso's in there too. And Loops takes down, I think it was Queso, takes down that team. And they're in this like weird position where they're trying to take this like little mini compound that PK set themselves up in, where they took down Footballers from, and Footballers are sitting there obviously having to wait and watch on the sidelines. And obviously, if you guys want to hear a little bit about the match, you can check out the interview I did with Soul K on the channel as well, from Footballers, the MVP of West.
We'll link that.
Yeah, but Loops, they technically could have won the whole thing. But UDR, Ulysses, snaking his way through, had this off angle on them that completely shut down the last 2 remaining players, because there was 2 down and 2 left alive. And he alone shut them down, making sure footballists could win. But that was such a heartbreaking moment. I remember sitting there because like I'm on the green screen, obviously, right? I'm not on a stage with all the other casters and analysts. And I'm sitting there watching, and I have to get to my position early, so the match isn't even done yet. And I'm sitting there like talking to him, like, all right, like Loop's got this. Loops is gonna win. I get out into my position. I'm still watching on one of the screens, and then I see Ulysses on the side. Actually, sorry, I see Pittsburgh Knights get 2 knocks, I think, with grenades, and then I run back like, oh my god, to get to talk to them. Like they're not gonna do it. They're gonna lose. And then as the second I get back to the green screen, Ulysses mows down the last 2 players and cuts down the hopes of Loops Esports. But for me, it was so great to see footballists win, a team from Turkey who has so much, like so many fans on their side. Turkey is very invested into esports. It's really similar to like India in my eyes, where there's such a massive following. And for the guys there to win that, I even talked to Berkamo, pretty much their manager, saying like that's like their most successful team for footballists is their PUBG Mobile team now because of that victory. And talking to Soke, like when they went out to some bars, obviously minding the global pandemic guidelines, they had like fans come up to them with like cakes and stuff to help celebrate their victory. And obviously they're all training together and playing together for like a month or 2 months in a different city. So they got to fly home not too long ago and really celebrate with their family and friends. But honestly, such a great win for them. And this team like really showed what Turkey has coming into PUBG Mobile, taking the victory by only 9 points in first place.
Yeah, I think we're going to talk like it was a pretty spectacular climax to the whole thing, and I think that's sort of pretty fitting for how it's all going to go. I think we're going to talk a little bit more about East League later because, as you guys know, we've got a special guest on the way for you guys, so we'll make sure that we do cover that. But I think and Blank mentioned this earlier, we had a sort of a similar few horse race moving into that final game, but it was a little bit disappointing. Orange Rock, they were in second. And then they weren't quite able to make it over that final hurdle, right?
I'm not gonna lie, it probably was I don't want to say this because it's kind of BM, but it probably was one of the most disappointing endings to a tournament I've had in quite a while. I think that if you remember in global finals, John, like when we were casting, even when BTR was 100 points ahead, I think that was still like a cooler ending for me because it was like top esports really, really gunning for that top spot. I think Illuminate the Murder dropped into 4th, which was awful for them. And then top esports took 2nd place. And that was a really big moment for me because I think I called like top esports. And then you were like, bro, we got to announce the actual winners of the tournament. And I was like, oh, yeah, of course. BTR, woo.
You're winners of the PMGC.
But yeah, so it was a little bit sad, but can I focus, please? Thank you. I'm focused in real life now too. But it was kind of sad. What can you do? But either way, like the run for those 3 teams at the top with Athena as well as Orange Rock and BTR to make sure that they got the win in the end was really, really like emotional from the beginning of the finals. It was just that very last game where I expected a little bit more. But you can't take away from that experience right at the end of World League was huge, especially for Orange Rock. And like you said, John, we're going to be bringing on your boy Scout in a little bit. So I know you guys are excited for that. And we have to do a really big shout out to Thug as well for helping us organize that type of stuff. Whoa.
I'm not ready to move on completely from East. I actually have a couple of questions for you guys.
Okay.
That's fine. That's fine. I'm just showing my love to Thug. You know?
Yeah. I mean, obviously a massive shout out to him, right?
Big heart. This is a really weird heart, but yeah.
It's a British heart. I don't know. So for me, I actually wanted to talk to you guys about a couple of teams, because you talk about like how well a team does in league play, right? Or the super weekends, I should say, right? Because that's obviously a good indicator of how things would go. For me, TSM Entity. I mean, having Jonathan get the MVP, I think it was like 2 weeks in a row, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
He like massively stepped up for the team. I know they had some problems initially early on with Clutch God calling within the team, so they brought in Gatak to come in and kind of give that veteran experience to the roster at the time. They had some internet issues. They fixed that. But they finished off 6th place. You had T1, which I think a lot of people out there had their eyes on T1 going into the whole event, right? Because if you're signed by an organization like T1, you're naturally going to get so many people watching you. And then GXR Celts. Like this team, if I'm not mistaken, like finished 7th place in like the league play portion, but then they finished off like 14th. I'm kind of curious about like your guys' thoughts on maybe some teams underperforming or maybe on the other end of that note, like were their teams overperforming when it came to the finals?
I think that for GXR Celts in particular, they've been pushing since like their run at the very start of the season just to get into World League, and they were a big surprising team for a lot of people in India. They're like, wow, they're doing so well. This is incredible. And then, if I'm honest, I think they just ran out of gas towards the end.
Yeah.
I think they were really pushing hard in the league play, and then they just had. Not that they didn't have anything else to give in the World Finals, they just sputtered on a little bit, and it just didn't go as far as they wanted.
I mean,
T1
it's a slog,
though,
right?
it's
like
a
4
it's a
weeks of
massive
playing.
slog. It's a huge slog. I honestly, I don't know how some of those players do it. It seems super stressful. And you know, big props to the guys at home and just have to like keep working it through. Yeah, and even in the case where I think Mad Toy on Team Secrets actually, I think he's in Thailand. I could be very much wrong there, but he's not actually with his team right now. So he didn't even get that chance to like chill out with them in the evenings and go over VODs with them. It would have to all be over the internet, like, and that just makes the whole situation even harder. So the fact that they had a big comeback in league play and they were able to do decently well. I mean, and it's not fantastically well in the league finals, but still put up those numbers is pretty phenomenal, honestly.
Yeah, I think so. I think to say they're underperforming might be a bit. They made it to the World League. Like they've already done very well over the course of the season. Like everybody qualified, everybody got there, sort of on their own merit. But
I mean, last thing then is Orange Rock, like because this was Orange Rock plus Scout, right? This isn't Scout on the team.
Yeah, he's on loan from Fnatic.
Yeah. And they only got better over time, and that was like insane to see. Like I mean, obviously Orange Rock is a good team. We saw them unfortunately not qualify for the finals when we were all there in India for the South Asia regional finals, right? Like we saw Fnatic not qualify either. But for this team to like bring in a loner like that and then be able to get second place just behind, again, 9 points behind Bigatron, that's insane. I think that really like kind of shows the caliber of players within the team and obviously what Scout brings to the roster.
Well, yeah, I think that,
sorry, John. Go.
It's I think that's kind of like it just speaks to the strength of the roster and to be honest, the length of the tournament helped them there. But I imagine we'll be getting into this a little bit deeper later on as we bring Scout on to chat about it and his performance over the World League, and there's other stuff that he's got going on as well.
Well, the funny thing is that people are probably going to be skipping ahead to the point when Scout comes onto the screen.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Blake.
I think that like one thing you do have to talk about, if you talk about Orange Rock at least, is the fact that it wasn't just kind of Scout as the lone who was brought onto the team, because you had Gil that was brought in, I think from Nova Godlike, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously you've got Viru in there who I think he's pretty long standing, and then also you've got Marvi who has been on Orange Rock for a long time. But that's the thing, is that they were a really new team. And I think Scout kept mentioning that during the interviews that he did. He was like, we're a really new team, have some patience, we're going to get better. And they did, they absolutely did. So it was really fun to watch. And I think Orange Rock, I think a lot of people want to continue watching that, because I think I would describe it as kind of like the God roster for India at the moment. And I'd love to see a team like that continue going on. It's kind of hard considering Scout's on loan from Fnatic, and it's not something that can keep happening. But I'm just curious to see what happens in the future.
Well, I'm sure they'll figure something out. But yeah, we'll look to the future, see if they're able to perform. We're going to cut to a short break, and we're going to get Scout on, get him sorted out. And of course, as Blank mentioned earlier, big shout out to Thug, who was a great help in setting this up and helping Scout come along and get it all sorted out, scheduling and stuff. So big shout out. We'll link his socials down in the description, so make sure you do go and drop him some love, of course. We're all about the support here on 6X. But when we come back, we'll have our special guest, Scout. Don't go anywhere. And welcome back. We're going to be obviously joining in with Scout. We've brought him on. The guy is doing insane at the moment. Set 2.79 million subscribers on YouTube, 2 million on Insta as well. Just passed. Fantastic stuff. I wish we could be chatting a bit about PUBG Mobile. Guys, how are you doing?
Everyone. You just
yeah, no, I beefed it. I beefed that.
That's what happens at the Discord at everyone. Scout, you came second in the East League. How was that? That's incredible, right, man? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it was like one of the highest ranks what India could achieve in the entire tournament till date. So yeah, it feels amazing, but we could have won it. We know that. It was really close. It was really close.
In the last game, right? In the last game, because BTR went down early, Orange Rock went down early, RRQ went down early. You guys got trapped in a ditch, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Smoke
So
everywhere.
everywhere, yeah. So like when I was talking to the BTR guys, they were like, we all were literally camped the first time when all the three teams were playing defensive so much that we all were waiting when the other team is gonna die, so we can go out and start fighting. So instantly when BTR went down, RRQ went down, we were like, okay, this is our chance. And then next second we got pushed from a different angle, like, oh shit. Okay, we all go down together.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
Well, I'm kind of curious, like what happened? Because you guys placed like 10th overall in the season play, right? And then you came through to second place. Like, did you guys change anything going into the final weekend? Like, what went on with the team?
Yeah, it was like the team was new, as I said. So it's like it's in the history of every team that when the team is formed, it performs excellent. Then there's a big downfall coming, and there's the challenging part. If you can come up from that downfall, you are good to go, or else you still go down. So we knew that okay, we did good. That's our caliber. We can compete for the top, for the first place. Let's forget everything what happened. Start fresh, start new. Remember the mistakes you did. That's simple. We gave our best. Still, honestly, if I would say, no, we messed up so many games, and we could have won with at least 30 to 40 points lead if we could have, just played the game with simple rules what we made for ourselves.
yeah. I mean, it was a pretty tricky run, and I mean, you guys. I mean, coming second is still pretty bloody phenomenal, right? Like that's certainly not a bad result to come out the back of it. But like, it was, as you say, like it was a pretty tricky middle of the season, right? Like, and you guys managed to turn that around, and the speed at which you guys did that was pretty impressive. And do you think it was more due to, the structures that existed around Orange Rock, like the coaching, any sort of staff work, or do you think it was sort of more just speaks to the to the unity that the players sort of managed to build over that time?
It's more like we respect each other's skill set and we trust each other a lot. And what I think is like we don't have a coach because we don't want one, because we think like understanding each other more is way more important than having a coach. So yes, our understanding and trust got us up here.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think that's kind of key, and that kind of that's something that works for us as well. Like as a broadcast team, is like if you trust who you're working with, it just makes everything so much easier. Because even if you drop
Looking
the
at you,
ball,
Blake.
you drop the ball once or twice. I know I certainly have. You've got other people there who are going to be able to pick it up. Obviously, you want to minimize those instances, but like having that sort of reassurance there is really important.
No one trusts me, basically.
I mean,
that's the way to go.
I think Blank doesn't trust John anymore to wrap up the conclusion of an event. Congratulations, the winners of the
man.
PUBG Mobile World.
What was it? What was it?
League.
I can't remember.
Oh, damn. Scout, basically, I don't know if you watched the English stream, but basically, last moment, John does this thing where sometimes at the end of tournaments, you just can't get the name right. I don't know what happened.
It was really unfortunate.
We had a PMPLWL moment at the end, but
It's not like we were doing the event a month or something,
Nah. That's actually one thing to talk about though, because the event goes on for so long, and there was like so little downtime, like 2 days off a week or something. Like I don't know, I wouldn't say it took its toll on me, but it was rough by the end. Like we were working those long hours, but I was looking at some interviews that you've done before, Scout, and like one thing you prioritize a lot is like studying teams and making sure you know their drop spots, you know how to cut off the rotations. With so little time between the days, how is the schedule when you finish playing? Because it's not just a case of finish playing, go home, stream, chill out. It's a case of go home, watch the VODs afterwards, because it must be a long day for you guys.
So like the rules what I used to follow before is like studying the team. We changed it completely because now this is not the same team. Yeah, this is not the same team. This is OR. This is my roster. This is Mavi, Gil, Viru, Anto, Daljit, and me.
Yeah.
So yes, so we knew that this team is completely different. This is not our old teams for all of us.
Yeah.
We know the potential of the team. So we were like, just focus on the mistakes you did. We don't need to focus on other teams what they do. We
Right.
don't care which team comes in our path. We don't see it's BTR or TSM. You need to just know
Yeah.
that let there be any team. You just need to make sure you don't do the same mistakes again, then you're good to go. So we
Mm,
just made a list of our mistakes of every single player.
yeah.
We made sure that we don't repeat our old mistakes.
Can I actually? So I want to. I'm really curious about this. You said earlier on that you guys like didn't want to coach, right? But
Yeah.
what about like an analyst? Like, what about someone that can save you time? Someone that like looks at how teams rotate all the time and gives that information to you. Is that something you would be interested to have in your team, or do you strictly want to do everything your guys selves?
So basically, we divide our work together. So it's like Mavi takes two map, I take another two maps. So
Okay.
we all take different maps, and at the Discord call, we discuss that. Okay, this on this map, this team did this. So we need to make sure that we don't fall in that same path again, or we need to cut off that rotation. So it like we let when you do the things on your own, you know about that much better.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So we do it on our own though.
I like that though, because it kind of it divvies up the work to everyone equally, so you know if you're doing like your own preparation time, it's not like you're putting in 10 hours of prep into a match or a day of matches, and someone else is putting in like 1 hour. It kind of makes sure that everyone's doing the same amount of work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's fair
It's
enough.
just, it's
And
that'd be difficult though. Just having like 10 hours on one dude. That wouldn't be ideal.
Bro,
A
I
day
know what he
after the
eats for
games.
breakfast. I know if he doesn't get his 10 hours of sleep, he's gonna go this way. I know if he doesn't order sushi, or if he orders sushi that night,
got
he's
him
gonna
the
have a bad day.
chinky.
Yeah, right.
Fair enough. But I mean, like, so now obviously, it's been a while since the end of the tournament, right?
Yeah.
Your schedule, I imagine, is a little bit less fraught with things. So I mean, and obviously, you're a massive content producer, right? Like you're one of the biggest in India, certainly one of the biggest in the world. It has to be said. I mean, you're doing phenomenally there. So your schedule kind of must change quite a lot, like from tournament play to like regular. Well, I say regular, like to your day in, day out stuff, right?
Yeah, it's quite different because when the tournament season starts, so I'm more into a team and a competitive part of my life. So that's more scrims, more number of hours into the practice, and less number of hours in streaming. So it's like when I'm having normal days, I stream a lot. I can chill out, but when it's tournament, I can just stream 1 or 2 hours max, and I have to focus 5 to 6 hours in competitive.
Sure.
See, that's super interesting to me because I can talk about how Seven Worlds Gaming. I mean, he was doing analyst work for the West League. He talked about how when he goes to events to do analyst work and stuff like that, or to commentate, he always sees massive hits in his like streaming numbers and his ability to produce content. You look at Shroud, one of the biggest streamers in the world, at least like the Western world. He stopped playing because he didn't have time to maintain his stream, right? Like he stopped playing professionally because he really wanted to focus on content creation, and he sees those big dips happen. When you play in a tournament, do you see like those massive drops in your viewer numbers when you first come back to streaming, or do your numbers like kind of stay the same?
So it depends on what you do during the tournament. So like if you do really good, your numbers are gonna go up. If
Right.
you do bad, your numbers are gonna be same or go down. So that's the scenario. So it's like a risk at tournaments. It's like either you boost yourself up or either you degrade yourself. So it's in your hands what you do. So why not to take the risk and get the bonus?
Right.
Perform good, get more.
Let
I
me
mean,
let
Where
you
me
you
go
can
certainly
like
did
that
that, right?
answer.
let me
Yeah, I
go like a
really
little
like that
bit
answer.
further on that then. Obviously we don't want you to disclose any like financial information, but do you think playing takes away from like what you could be earning as a content creator, or do you think they kind of go hand in hand? Like because you're playing professionally and you're playing on one of the best teams in India, it helps you produce content and vice versa.
So what I think, like what most of the players take it mistaken, that they merge their content and competitive together and think that it's content for them, but content is completely different. You need to entertain when you are having your content side. You don't need to be pro, or don't need to be the best in your game to entertain someone. You need someone to laugh, so that's a completely different scenario. And yes, what I think is like playing competitive and getting content is a thing, but having your content different as an entertainment sector, it's completely different. So yes, if you do more stream, you earn more. And tournaments, I don't think anyone plays for money. Everyone plays for the pride.
Hmm.
So money is okay. Whatever you get is fine, but the pride is really important in that thing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like India specifically is like all about getting towards the top. But to be fair, like the South Asian region in particular is like slowly like creeping up towards the top leagues. Obviously, you guys just got second in World League, which is absolutely massive.
With the
It doesn't
possibility of
seem
getting first as well. Like that
exactly.
can't be ignored because it's like it's last time around Bigatron were like 100 points clear or whatever
Yeah.
of everyone. This time it's like last game was if you'd have been able to not get pincered as you were, there was a chance. But yeah, sorry, I interrupted.
So yeah, so it's like just 9 points, and we know in competitive scenario of PUBG Mobile, 9 points is nothing, to be honest. You just get 3 positions above the other team, you get those 9 points.
Yeah. I mean, going back to what was said about India, though, it's like second place Orange Rock, sixth place TSM Entity, ninth place Team IND. Like, they were all in the top 10. Like, that was wild to me that so many made it towards the top side. But there was one team that kind of surprised me a little bit. And actually curious in your opinion on Box Gaming in particular. Do you think it was more luck that they got towards fourth place? Because whenever they got that circle a lot, right? They got the circle with the zone and the compound pretty much all the time. But I don't know if they were there to hold it well because of skill or if it was something else. As a competitive player, I wouldn't know.
Yeah. So what I think about this thing about Box is that if you see us, RRQ and BTR, you need to be consistent. You don't need to, like, if you get eliminated at 16th or 15th or below that, you get messed up.
Yeah.
So, by the way, I got a text that there are a few minutes left.
It's staying on. It's staying on. We're good. We're good. I checked.
Okay.
Yeah. We're good
Sure.
to go.
So yeah, so what I think is that Box Gaming, they are really great with their gunpowder and strats, but I think they were a little bit less consistent than the other teams who were above them. So yeah, maybe that because of which they were fourth.
Yeah, I mean fourth is still good for them. They're a relatively new team coming in, as far as I was aware.
No, it's the old SS. Like
Oh,
most
right,
of the
okay.
is the team SS Lewis SS.
Oh, damn,
Yeah,
okay.
that's team SS. They were sponsored by Box, I guess so.
Right, I see. Okie dokie.
I think what's really cool to see, as you talked about, like Blank, how South Asia is just kind of on the rise when it comes to PUBG
Yeah.
Mobile. Like looking back a year ago, right, for the PUBG Mobile Club Open Spring Finals, you had one team, I believe, make it from India even into the grand finals, and that was Team Seoul, and they placed 12th. And then now to look a year later, how many teams made it into like the top 10 of the finals of East League, I think is insane and really shows like how much as a region every team is improving.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
I don't know.
Are
Just
you?
give me 1 second.
He's a popular man. He's a busy man. Is our scout.
Is it
No, that's my mom's phone. I don't know why it's here.
Oh. She's a busy woman. She's a
अरे आपका फोन इधर क्या इंटरव्यू में कॉल कर रहे हैं?
Oh dear.
Oh, yeah,
man.
we're back. We're back online. We're back in. We're back in.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's probably a good moment to transition actually then from that. Obviously not about your mum, but more about your recent achievement.
Yeah, I was like, where are you going with that?
Because obviously it's like we were saying before, it's like 2.8 mil on YouTube, 2 mil on Insta. And to be fair, I think halfway through the tournament of East League, I think I remember you being like 1.7. So it was a ridiculous increase in the amount of viewership you're getting. It seems to be only climbing now. So I mean, you are becoming like that. I think, I don't want to say Mortal's out as like a competitive player, but he's not circling around him. He's more content right now, and I think he's doing some stuff in COD too. But I feel like you're becoming more of the face of PUBG Mobile competitive, which is really cool in my opinion. It's like taking up that mantle.
Yeah. So like, I'm happy that I'm becoming the face of like PUBG Mobile's competitive scenario, but at the same time, I'm trying to create lots of content because at the end of the day, I grew up watching Shroud, so I want to be at the same. Like whenever people say like who are the best streamers to watch, they should have Scout in their name when they say. So I need to reach that level one day. So that's my
Is that
target.
See, that leads into, I guess, the stream you had with Dr. Disrespect, right? I thought it was really interesting to see, like, him and you streaming together, because it's kind of two different worlds in my head coming together, like the Western Hemisphere and the Eastern Hemisphere. Was that like step one in your plan for global domination of the streaming world? Is to
Yeah.
do a dual stream with him?
Yeah, it was like my first step towards my actual dream, what I want to achieve is coming in the one like world's top 5 streamers. So yeah, that's my first step towards the goal.
What's step two? I'm really curious now.
Who knows? Who knows?
It's the 6x. It's the 6x podcast, man. It's that's the next step. Oh,
I
blank,
can
you're
see it like
fading,
10 years
mate.
from now. Scout is the first Earth diplomat in the universe.
Going out to speak to the aliens. Hell yeah, dude. The red
Stream-
aliens in this
we'll
case.
send out his stream to all the aliens around the world so they can watch. And he's the first streamer to have over 1 trillion viewers live. I can see it happening.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. This is a really quick question to answer. I'm just curious because you mentioned Shroud, but I mean, like, Cloud9. If you got a chance to like trial for them, would you?
I got Fnatic already.
You
Why would
already got Fnatic.
Yeah.
But
Why-
if you got the chance to play for Cloud9, would you want to do it? In the Shroud genre there.
No, it's fun. It's like competitive scenario is fun. I'm good with orange and black.
Hell yeah,
So,
hell
yeah.
yeah. Do it. That's
Dude.
that's amazing.
I don't think I've shown too many people this, but look, there you go. Oh wait, you guys can't see it because I have to.
No.
Because I have to use my webcam in OBS, but you'll see it on the video. It's a giant Fnatic mouse mat that has the logo all over it.
Yeah. John is basically the biggest Fnatic fan going. So.
I am. I've been a fan of theirs since like one of the dominant CS roster that they had with like JW and stuff, and their
JW 's
league team
still
as
on the
well.
roster.
Like when but like they had their massive glory day. What was it? Him.
Flusha, Krims,
Flusha-
Olaf Meister, Pronax, JW.
Yeah, that's the one. Jesus Christ, you're rattling them off. And their league
basically,
roster
It's
went.
almost as if I casted them years ago. Or
Yeah, I
something.
know, right? And their league roster when Reckless joined. I've been following the org for ages, and I'm a massive fan of it.
XPK, Reckless, Yellow Star,
Yeah, man.
Soaz. I can't remember Cyanide. There we go. It's like I almost casted them in League of Legends. Oh my god.
So good. He'll
let's-
never tell you this, Scout. He'll never tell you this, but when you actually became part of Fnatic, John had a big fanboy moment.
I
telling
did.
you. He did.
So like honestly, I would tell you one thing. Like my first ever mousepad was Fnatic's one.
Really?
Yeah, I am an old Counter-Strike player, to be honest. So my first mousepad was the Fnatic. It has the Fnatic complete logo on the entire mousepad. The old ones, I had that one. That was my first.
Yeah.
Can
I've
I-
seen you play Valorant as well. You're an absolute beast at Valorant. What's going on? That's crazy.
Yeah.
I tuned into your streamers like he's popping heads. This is ridiculous.
I kind of want to ask this, but I know it's kind of like a negative tone, but I think it's a good topic in general because we mentioned earlier on about India, and you want to make sure India's definitely put on the spot when it comes to esports. And when you mention Counter-Strike, obviously the name I'm going to have to bring up is Forsaken. Are you still feeling like the shockwaves of what he did, like within esports in India in general?
Yeah, at that time, I guess what Forsaken had, the opportunity to bring India up was way too big for that time, that scenario, and he did shit. He made him.
Doesn't hold back. I like it. Keep going.
So
That's fair enough.
so because of him, lots of esports part of the India just fell down. So what we are doing right now is way much bigger than what he did in terms of esports. So I think that doesn't even matter that he existed at that time. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
think-
we don't even care who is he. So what he did, just
Honestly,
who is he?
Yeah, I think you're one of like the big parts of how like these Western orgs that have become so known in esports, like Fanatics, like TSM, have been able to get involved in India is because they see these stars like you, and they're like, you know what, we want them to be a part of us. So it's actually really cool to see that, you know, Forsaken might have screwed over with Optic, but we still see other organizations coming into the region, and that's really cool. It's a lot of pressure on your shoulders, but you seem to be handling
You've got
it
like
well.
Nova
Yeah.
as well, like who are coming in,
Yeah.
picking up Godlike,
Godlike, yeah.
partnering with Godlike, I should say, rather than picking them up. It wasn't a full signing.
Come on.
That's the exact mousepad I had.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I
I
put
think
it-
that's
I-
one of the oldest designs, right?
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
2012. I think I bought that.
Yeah, exactly the same one I have.
I just posted for people watching. I just posted a picture in the group chat so that everyone could see.
Yeah.
So John, you've had that for 8 years. Come on, man. I'm
Dude.
pretty sure you
Come
make
on,
enough money to
dude.
buy a new mouse.
I
pad.
have got
must
a
be
new
a
one. I have got a new
crusty
one. It's the
mouse
new
pad, dude.
Fnatic one.
Yeah, these are the OGs. This mousepad is the OG one.
Yeah, dude,
Trust
it's
me.
the best. I don't want to
Yeah,
use it anymore because
everyone
it's
has
starting
it.
to wear
Yeah,
out. But anyway,
everyone, every single guy who used to play CS:GO and a Fnatic fan has that mousepad.
yeah, that was me, man.
Have you watched it yet, John? That's the real
I've
question.
watched it
Ugh.
once when I spilt
Once.
my drink all over it.
Once. You're
He's had it
nasty.
since 2012. I really wish you would have watched it because you probably spent more things on it than that.
Yeah,
That's-
that's disgusting, man. That's disgusting.
Like
You
food.
saw
Who doesn't
that.
eat at their desk?
I see my mouse mat's all the way out here because I need that full retract,
yeah, out
like
there.
left flick. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, I can totally
Well-
see what you're talking about. Let's move the conversation along though, because I don't think we have
Yeah.
like too much time left, anyways. I think one thing we want to talk about, obviously, which I think between the battlegrounds, the PUBG Mobile series that we've been seeing, that's actually really well done, is obviously the COVID, the global pandemic going on, and I think maybe we should talk about that a little bit for you in the sense of like how does that affect your day-to-day life at the moment, Scout?
So yeah, COVID, like, it affected a lot for us, especially the LAN factor. We like all the esports player, they enjoy playing LAN a lot because you get the time to meet and interact with other players, and that is a really fun and stress relieving time after the games. That's really important for us, but COVID, you have to stay home and play. And moreover, you cannot go out of your house. You need to stay packed inside your house. So yeah, that matters a lot.
I
I
mean,
mean, it's
it's-
alright for you with your cool room, and then there's me here stuck in this. Come
Yeah,
on.
exactly, man.
I mean, I live in my kitchen, so. But I think he's got a point, right? I think as you said before, like you don't
100%.
play for the money, right? You're playing for the pride. You're playing for the fans, and to have the
Unity.
crowd, cheering for you and rooting you on when you win games is amazing. Also, from like our perspective, it elevates our hosting, it elevates our casting. But I'm not gonna lie, the after parties for me are probably one of the best things you can have at an esports event because the people you get to hang out with, right? You get to
Yeah.
hang out with like all these players in this like completely different environment where they're more relaxed. They're not trying to be like super professional and like obviously look good for cameras and I mean last time we had it was in Malaysia for the fall finals, but that has to be something you miss out on as well.
Yeah, it's like I miss the parties and I miss the after party. You can say, after the official parties we go out.
I agree.
Those are the
That's
better
different
ones,
Wake up in the
man.
morning.
Yeah, yeah. When you wake up after going to party in the next morning, that party I miss the most.
Yeah.
Hell yeah,
Yeah, man.
100%.
I mean,
I do miss it. I mean, like, if for us, it's like we don't get to chat to the players as much, which is why it's nice doing a podcast like this. I mean, we're probably going to try and speak to as many people as we can. It's really lovely having you on as well because I think this is the first time I actually probably properly got to chat to you because I think there was a chance the South Asian finals,
Regional finals,
but I didn't find you, so I was just chilling. But this is cool.
I remember my first conversation with Scout. I was
Oh, did
in
you?
the catering in the South Asia Regional Finals, and I was asking them like, "What's this? Is it really spicy?" And Scout's like, "You don't want to eat that. It's too spicy for you." And I was like, "Oh, well, that's my first interaction
Thanks,
with Scout. Good times."
Oh man, he's shot calling even when it's just dinner time, man.
Oh yeah, don't eat that. Let's rotate over here. Let's
Right.
eat this curry, bro.
Oh dear. Oh, but I mean, like, and that's kind of a way to lead into what I wanted to talk about next, which is like the involvement, right, with the sort of general ecosystem that surrounds PUBG Mobile. Because I think, and Blank sort of highlighted this, it's a little bit more tricky for us as broadcasters to like interact with just a lot of people, a lot of players all at once. Like it takes time to build up that sort of network. But the players themselves, you guys have like a vast sprawling network of people who you talk to all the time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got secret discords on secret discords with
Discords,
secret
all
channels
the
and secret voice channels.
And then the group DMs about those channels that exclude one of those players,
Oh my god, John. But to be fair, I think we were talking a little bit about this before the podcast started, but you were saying that you're really, really good friends with Luxxy, right? Because you were there since the beginning. And I think that for me, at least as a caster, I came into PUBG Mobile halfway through last year. So for me, even so, like I feel like I've been in the game for a little while, but it's nowhere near as long as you guys because I imagine that network is something that builds up over time, rather than like you just immediately have it.
Yeah, so it's like me and the BTR players we are just not like the in-game friends. It feels like we have been in this journey from the start.
Mhm.
We we learned playing together. It basically feels like that. Like these guys played from different country. I played from India, but like staying connected from the start before even the tournaments ever existed.
Yeah.
We used to push rank together in the leaderboards. So yeah, it feels like a long journey together. We
Mhm.
have seen each other's ups and downs. We have been with each other.
Yeah, I imagine that's probably why it sucks even more that we don't have these lands because you don't get to see your friends that you wouldn't normally get to see anyway because they're in different parts of the world. But
Did
yeah,
I just
I'm
hear BTR Scout? Is that what it is? That stage three?
no,
Is that stage three of your global
No, no,
domination?
no. I'm happy with my roster, and I know I can achieve a lot more with this roster.
Nice. I think that's kind of something that you talked about earlier as well. It's like the roster, it had that dip in the middle, and I think you were very honest about that, which was kind of refreshing.
Yeah,
Like during the course of the tournament, right? Like you were very open with your fans in general, and I think that's very admirable as a trait. But now you were on that upswing towards the end. That's a roster that's shooting for the stars.
yeah. So it's like climbing. Like there is two phase in the career. It's like when you're down, you need to get up. That's the hardest part.
Hmm.
And there another part comes when you are at the top. You need to maintain that thing.
Yeah.
It's like it's much more difficult to maintain the top position rather than climbing it.
I mean, it's Rocky Balboa, isn't it? I mean, have you seen the Rocky
Yeah,
films? You're climbing
yeah. I
those
have seen.
steps. You're
Or
gonna be
your
jumping to the skies.
or your Astralis. I mean, if
this
you're a
is
CS fan, right, you can talk about Astralis. I'm assuming like being the number one team in the world last year, that no team could take them down. But when you are number one, you have a big bullseye on your back, and everyone's coming
Yeah,
for you.
they got a
yeah.
psychotherapist as well to kind of deal with. They did, dude. They got someone in to help like they boost their morale type of deal and make sure they were all on track and that the stress was relieved because it is like stressful, like you say, having that bullseye on your back going into it. I mean, now that you've come in that second place, now you want to stay towards the top side. Yeah, it's difficult, and that whole getting back up moment, like towards the end of the tournament, was really cool to be honest with you because I do remember Orange Rock, like right at the beginning of the tournament, we were all like, oh my God, this team is phenomenal. You had that dip, and then we saw you come back on form at the end, which is hard to get back up.
Yeah, it was like pretty much like a movie. Enter the scenario with, okay, these guys are cool. Then
Yeah.
boom, they go down.
Yeah.
Where are they? We can't see them. And next, okay, now the hardest part starts.
The
This is the
redemption
final
arc.
stage. Yeah, you
The
do or die.
montage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
either you do. If you do it, then the past thing what you did, it wasn't just luck. It was your skills. If you don't,
Mhm.
and yeah, you're done. It was
Yeah.
just your luck. You were just lucky back then.
So when's
You
the
know,
film
that's what
coming
they
out?
say as well. That's what
Yeah.
they say. I think the film's already
I
out.
think that's
They've already
between the
got
battlegrounds coming up, right?
Yeah.
I'm actually okay. So I think the last thing I want to ask about this actually before we move on to obviously like the new changes to the whole format and structure of the tournaments coming up is you obviously have a ton of fans and you're talking about when you have those high moments when you're number one, you try to maintain it, and then you have those moments you're trying to climb. But a lot of that spotlight that you get comes with a lot of hate as well. If you lose a match, you don't perform as well. I'm just really curious, how do you personally deal with a lot of hate messages that I'm assuming you're gonna get just because people are so invested in like, oh, why couldn't you win this and all that? Like, how do you on a personal level deal with that? Because it's rough, especially when you have that many fans.
So, personally, what I feel, India is an emotional country. So people get connected to their fan favorite players a lot. So they feel like as if they are playing there. So like when you're getting support, then that's the best support you can get ever in the in the entire world, I guess. Like Indian fans, if you get the support from the Indian fans, it's like, dude, no one can give you much more better support than these fans.
Unconditional
But
love.
yeah, but
We
once you
definitely felt it. We
perform
definitely felt it. Yeah.
yeah, but once you perform bad, then you should be ready because if someone is giving you so much love, then he must be expecting so much from you. If you disappoint them, then just accept the fact. Yeah, you disappointed. Try to convince them, okay, you can do it much better. Next time we
Mhm.
won't prove you wrong. So yeah, it's fine. And haters, there obviously, if you have 10,000 people supporting you, there will be 1,000 or 2,000 people hating you. So why do you look at the smaller number rather than looking at the big numbers?
Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
remember in
100%.
the South Asia regional finals back in like June of last year. I remember like when Fnatic didn't qualify, just seeing your head in your hands and seeing like the emotion coming out of you of obviously realizing that all the fans must be sad as well. But I think I think you've done a really good job of dealing with like the toll it takes on you to have that many people invested into you and your career.
Yeah, it's like that was my first drawback for me in my entire esports career. Like that first time I was playing for such a big org, that's Fnatic, and I knew disappoint at the major events. So yeah, that was a very big, shocking moment for me. But I was like, Okay, that's not the end of the day. That's one bad day. You
Yeah,
got an entire life to live on.
It's
Just
part of
move
exactly.
the
on.
montage, right? It's part
Yeah.
of the scout
Yeah.
movie.
Scout, I mean, a man can only stumble for so long before he starts to stand back up straight, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's exactly what you did towards like this year. It's been a really nice like we said a montage story to hear, and you have maintained that spot, which is really important. But yeah, I think what we should talk about now is definitely like the new tournament structure, because it is really cool. We're seeing the new point system. I think a lot of players have been calling for changes there, with the 1 point to be taken away and more emphasis on those kills, because it makes for more dynamic gameplay, right?
Yeah, it's like I personally feel the new point tables are pretty good than the before ones because
Mm.
it's not anymore a luck based. Like sometimes it
Yeah.
happens, like if luck favors you completely, no matter how good you are, if all the odds are against you, then you're done.
Hmm.
I think it
And now,
favors like shorter form tournaments a lot better as well, because like obviously over a league the point system kind of is okay as is. Obviously if you're playing 50 games, that luck sort of averages out across everybody, right? In broad terms. But when you've got like 6 games, 10 games that you're playing, that impact of like a single chicken dinner with 10 kills, like you're basically guaranteed to move way up the leaderboards, or escape the elimination zone, the
We
red
saw
zone.
that in league play, right, John? Because
yeah,
like
Yeah.
we had 2 days of games, 8 games total for your team. You win one chicken dinner, then you're basically through into the super weekend.
you get teams with
Yeah.
like 100+ points over other teams at the end of a league, which I thought personally was ridiculous. But I think we were really lucky with the recent World League, and the fact that the West League was so damn close. The East League was ridiculously close as well. It made for like such a cool ending to the whole tournament, and we are super lucky in that sense, is that we're going to continue getting that now just because of the new point change. And if you were watching the World League, you'll know like how exciting it was at the end, and so you're going to see more of that in future, which is really really cool. And that's going to be implemented for PMGC, where hopefully we get a LAN and Scout gets to see his good buddy Luxxy again, which would be nice.
Yeah, and if PUBG Mobile is seeing this, please, just a small request, get us the FPP modes in the
Yes,
tournament.
dude.
Oh.
Oh, this is really interesting to talk about. Go on, John,
Mm,
because I know you have a
uh,
lot of thoughts on this.
No. I want to hear what Scout has to. I want to hear what
All
yeah,
right.
Scout's opinions
Yeah.
are on it.
like yes, people love TPP, but all the competitive players they love FPP. Yeah, trust
Yeah.
me, everyone loves FPP because that's pure raw skills what comes out while playing. So
Mm.
Yeah.
please, it's a small request from every single competitive
Small
player.
request.
Please get us the FPP tourneys
Well,
started.
do you think it was third person because it's more accessible to like a wider audience to like get into and play, since first person's a little bit more hardcore and you're punished a lot more for mistakes?
No, I think when PUBG started, it started from TPP.
Yeah.
Mm.
So people started playing TPP. They didn't knew much about FPP. FPP came later in the game. So what I think is that when people start with something, they like it much more rather than trying
Mm.
something new. So getting the change is in our hands. If we show them something different, and they have to see that no matter what, then
Mhm.
they will start liking it.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, I think even when PUBG first came out on PC, like a lot of the taunts were TPP towards the beginning, and it actually was a big push from the pros to be like, let's have the first person tournament. So I don't think it was easy for PUBG ever, but they've had a longer time in the esports to iron out the wrinkles than PUBG Mobile has. And I think, yeah, I think that personally, the shift to first person is definitely the next step on top of Erangel 2.0, on top of this point change. I think like PUBG Mobile is only getting better. Like that's the cool thing about it, and there's still more to improve.
And there's no reason from a spectator point of view. Obviously, that's sort of where we see most competitive esports, right? From the observer side, there's no difference between first person and third person, because the observers, they're not always like, if they're in first person, they normally go to first person, even if we're in third person gameplay, just so we can, see where aim is happening, all of that sort of stuff. So I think, there's definitely a reason that people could push for that, and I'd be excited to see it. So it'd be interesting to get to cast some.
If it does happen though, I don't think it's something that can happen. Like all the things you're talking about can happen instantly. It has to be like a slow, gradual change. Like even the point system alone, of it now being like 15 points for a chicken dinner with more weight now towards kills is going to completely affect how I think the meta will be and how teams play. Like for instance, in the West League, loops and footballists who primarily get their points off kills will become even stronger now that the chicken dinners aren't worth as much.
I mean, so you want to see gradual change? So we should go for second person first, and then
obviously second person. Then get to first person, and then just go to no person where you're just a gun running around the map. But yeah, like it's something you can't just spring on. I think into a tournament like with PMGC coming up, like you can't just say, okay, well we're doing Ergo 2.0, we're doing the new point system, we're doing first person. That's so many changes. We're going to Call of Duty now. No, but you can't change that many things so quickly, which I think is like a big problem. You have to have like an off season to give teams a chance to prepare specifically for like a first person event or like new trial. I mean, if your team was a transition scout from third person to first person only, what kind of time frame are you looking at that you would need to be able to play at the same kind of optimal level you guys did at the World League?
So I think it would just take 1 month, because in first person, your game becomes a much more faster paced than the third person, because third person you have lots of advantage.
Yeah.
But once you switch to first person, then it's like, even if you're in the open, you have an equal amount of chance to knock the same guy who's in the cover.
Yeah.
So that plays a huge factor. Like imagine a team gets the zone and you guys are in the open, you cannot get in the zone. But if it's TPP, then it's 99% sure the team outside the zone is gonna die. But when it's FAP, both the teams have the same number of seconds to peek each other. If the guy from the window is peeking, then you can also peek back. But so it makes the game much more even on the basis of luck, what plays a huge role for most of the teams while playing. So that will be, the luck factor would go less and the skill factor would increase a lot.
Yeah,
it rewards
really
aggression, right? Because doesn't third person reward passive play?
I wouldn't say passive, but I would say you get a God's eye when you play third person.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, I mean, I'm always in favor of, increasing the skill ceiling, making sure that everybody is able to display that skill. That's always a good thing. I think we're just about coming to time now, so I think we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much, Scout, for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Obviously, some great opinions from one of the greatest PUBG Mobile players in the world, and I have no hesitation in saying that. Fantastic stuff. He's been killing it. Make sure you check out his socials. They've been scrolling through during this whole thing, so you can check them out. They're on his border. You can see there, and you can follow all of us in a similar vein on our socials as well. And then check us out on various social media at 6x Podcast, and we'll be coming at you with more podcasts, a couple of interviews maybe in the future. So stay tuned. Thank you so much. Cheers, guys, for coming along as well. Jason, Blank, thank you very much. We're gonna go. See you guys later. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye bye.